Welcome to the Podcast Editing and Support Show. My name is Dave. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go. We're going to start the episode right now. Happy to have you here. Let's do this. Welcome back to the podcast. Glad to be with you again. And as I talk to people around podcast editing and support, thanks for being here, by the way. As I talk to people in the editing space and the support space who help podcasters like you and me to create our shows and to edit and get us on as a guest and all the other things that we do in our role as editors and support people, there's this tone. There's a thing happening where our clients are falling in love with AI to the point where they're like, why am I paying a person to do what this fancy new tool can do? And I'm getting an uneasy sense from the people in the space that something is happening. And to quote Twisted Sister, we're not going to take it. Well, that's probably not the best rationale and response that we can have. But there's this thing happening within the space, and AI is really something that we can't avoid. It's something that is there in our face every day. There's something new coming out. And the feedback coming from our clients is, why do I need you? So, to that end, I wanted to give my thoughts around AI and maybe kind of think about what we can do in this role as we support people in a creative process that AI, to date, has not been able to conquer or even attempt to conquer, that could be the nice, logical stream for us as editors to go from the traditional editor seat to more of a creative partner as a podcast editing and support person, and how we can redefine our roles in an age of automation and AI. I'm glad you're here. Let's jump into this. If you go onto YouTube or anything and just search up AI and its impact on the job market, you're going to hear stuff like this, which makes me feel nervous, but also sparks a creative side of me going, okay, well, what's our response to this? So here's a little clip just to give you an idea of what they're saying around AI and job loss.
The World Economic Forum quotes, by 2025, 85 million jobs that exist today will be replaced and done by AI, but 97 million new jobs will be created. One of the other more alarming projections is that 90% of the jobs of those 85 million that will be lost will be the jobs of women, minorities and youth. And that deeply concerns me because it's a lot of the entry-level jobs. So to your question, it's customer service, it's retail, it's hospitality, it's tourism, it's banking and finance, insurance, where women, minorities and youth have often worked. So that's deeply concerning to me.
There's an impact that's going to be felt across our industry as creators are looking at these tools wondering, maybe, just maybe, we can bring this in-house and we do not need the traditional editors that we've had before, experts with all the knobs and buttons and training and expertise who manually go through a podcast and create the video clips and create the audiograms and create the thumbnails and create the artwork and do the guest services and help with monetization, help with your social media platforms. There are so many new, really quite amazing things out in the world that are making things easier for content creators, and at the same time seem to be a huge target on our backs as editors to substantiate why we need to be here. And I'm doing this show because I want to show the relevance of having a podcast editing and support person, because as much as these tools are pretty crazy and pretty unique and pretty exciting, there is still an element of humanity that needs to happen in the creative process where not everything can be done with a click of a button. and with it a monthly subscription. There's room for us in this conversation, and I wanted to address that here on the episode and to alleviate some of your concerns, but also at the same time to give you a little kick in the butt that it's time to think bigger than ums and ahs. We talk about that here on the show a lot. We do way more for podcasters than just take out ums and ahs. There's a side of what we do that I still think holds a lot of value and can help a podcaster to reach a better audience and take their podcast to a level that dependence on AI alone might not be able to do. So I would really love to kind of explore this evolving role of podcast editors and support teams in this age of AI. Podcasting is really undergoing this profound transformation as AI rapidly automates so much of what we do. Many technical aspects of production, like tasks that once took hours to do, such as noise reduction, audio leveling, filler word removal, can be accomplished in mere seconds now with these AI tools. And these advances have made some pretty high quality editing to be more accessible to the masses, where it would typically be behind a paywall hiring an editor. There's AI-generated voiceovers and automated guest matching platforms. A lot of the things that we're the go-to people for have been replaced or augmented by these amazing tools. Again, I don't want you to get the sense from me that I'm anti-AI, because there's so many great things that can help you and I in our services to our podcasters. But at the same time, we need to see where we fit in all of this. As this shift raises an urgent question for podcast editors and support teams, the question simply is, where do humans fit into a landscape where so much of the technical work is being automated by the client, sometimes in advance of what they're sending to you to do the final touches on? What AI can and what AI can't do. As of June 2025, probably while I'm talking to you, something's already been created to address some of the things I'm going to bring up. But from my limited knowledge and where I am at in this very moment, this is what I'm seeing. Okay. AI excels at automating anything that's repetitive. Any kind of technical editing tasks, removing the ums, the uhs, the silence gaps, leveling the audio. Some of the things that were kind of like the bread and butter of podcast editing and support for many years can simply be done by a click of a button, and done very well. It might not have the nuance and the human touch that we do and we're proud of as editors, but for the most part, a good editor is not even noticed. And even your client won't even know what you've done. Really, you do, because you understand your process and you understand how to edit. But for the most part, your client and the listener and the viewer, they're not even going to really notice. But again, you know. And in that gap between what you know you did and what they're not hearing, that's where people lean towards some of these tools at the expense of podcast editing and support people like you and me. So these automated things, these automated tools, they just handle all those repetitious things. And if you admit it, you probably use some of those tools yourself for your clients. So we're kind of part of the problem, if you think about it that way. Podcasting in a studio quality type sound can be done pretty much now using imperfect recordings, to the point where people who have given grief to platforms like Zoom for the audio quality that you get, your audio quality from Zoom can be enhanced to the same level or near to the same level as some of the most expensive online recording platforms that give you high quality results. Zoom plus these tools are actually pretty effective. And in that, I'm seeing from people that I talk to and my clients, a pulling away from paying somebody to use a big, fancy, expensive tool or using a recording platform that costs a lot of money to simply going back to the basics and using Zoom, for example. Again, traditionally not the most reliable audio quality results, but very easy for people to use, well understood by non-technical people, especially guests, and easy to share and pretty well common knowledge post the global event when most of us had to use some form of online communication through video, and probably Zoom was the platform of choice. So we can take something that's not perfect and make it sound so much better through these tools that are available to you, to me, and to your client at the expense of a relationship with you, potentially. Because if you're going to use the tool and they're going to use the same tool, they might just pick up the tool and decide to not use you anymore. AI also excels at generating transcripts, show notes, and social media content from the raw audio. It can then take that content and turn it into articles and blog posts and Substack notifications, and all kinds of stuff can be done simply from the content. Things that you and I would take great pleasure and great attention to creating awesome assets for our podcaster after the recording, after the editing. We would be the ones to come in and support them in that way. Now it's simply a click of a button. It's interesting. So that's what AI excels at currently in the moment, but there's some things that AI tends to fall short at when we look at the entirety of the podcast editing and support platforms and what we do to service our clients. AI falls short in areas like deep understanding of narrative flow and the nuance that we can have with our podcasters when they tell their stories. AI hasn't really figured that out yet. AI hasn't figured out any form of emotional intelligence. AI can give answers, but AI to date, as of June 2025, is not as effective at coaching and helping to motivate people from a human experience, from a lived experience, on an emotional level. It only can bring back results. It can only find what's out there in the world and bring it back to you again as the result of a query. Where humans, working with humans, do have a connection and a bond that I don't know will ever go away. If anything, our reliance on these tools is going to make people crave emotional intelligence, coaching, and motivation from a fellow human when our world is surrounded by AI results, 5 points, 5 main things, and in a sea of sameness, there's an opportunity for you and I to step out and come out from underneath the AI results and be that emotional, intelligent coach and motivator for our podcasters. I see a gap here. I see an opportunity for you to, again, get beyond the ums and ahs and spend more time helping your podcasters through coaching and motivation. I see that as a big win. Also, AI is falling a little bit short with building genuine human connection and fostering community. AI doesn't know how to do community. AI doesn't know how to do relationships between listeners and content creators. It can create assets, but it doesn't know how to have conversation to the point where you and I can, and how we can direct our podcasters to connect on a deeper level with their audience. They're not spending as much time on editing. They're not spending so much time on content creation, which allows time in the gaps, in the margins, for them now to focus more on their audience and building great connections where they would have spent hours on content creation. The AI tools make it easier for us to create content faster, allowing us to still create content on a regular basis, but go deeper with our audience in human connection based on the content that we're providing and suggested to us through AI. So I see AI is great at results. I think humans are great at relationships. I like that. I think that might become a shirt. That's good. Results versus relationships. I think AI has some ground to gain there. And for now, I see us thriving in the relationships and a little less on the results. AI tends to fall short as well, providing personalized feedback. Again, personalized. There are tools that will go through your podcast, through your website, make recommendations, but it's not personalized. It's not, right? There's another level to that. AI is not really as great on encouraging people and offering more creative collaboration. I like to think that with the podcasters that I work with, whether it's an editing partner or somebody who supports podcasters or a podcaster in larger terms, I like to think that I can help them with creative ideas. Now, I don't have a window up on ChatGPT or Perplexity, and I'm just reading to them a list of ideas that provided to me by a query in AI. I'm sitting down with them with my own brain and my own experience, and we're working through it together in real time. Now, I will leverage tools as well to help me learn, but when I work with a client, I'm working with them one-on-one in person. And I find that that's probably the more impactful way to build a sustainable relationship and better results as well at the same time. As one industry analysis notes, listeners value human experience. Lived experience is what allows you to share personal stories, anecdotes, and other things that create a powerful and relatable connection between you and your audience. Experience is something that AI categorically can't have. I'll have a link to that quote in the notes. But AI knows very little in comparison to our podcasters and to what you know. And it only knows what we tell it. So you have the upper hand in this conversation because AI doesn't have the experience of your audience. So what is the future role of editors and support teams in a world of AI? I think that we as editors and support people can rethink and retool some of our offerings to our clients. Again, if your website only talks about ums and ahs removal and silence gaps and leveling, I think you're missing an opportunity here because you're going to be passed over pretty quickly if that's the extent of the offerings you offer to your clients. I think human-centered coaching and creative direction should be one of the things that you add to your menu of items of offerings that you offer to clients. A human-centered coaching approach to podcasting and content creation, and this creative direction, helping people understand and organize and move forward is something that you and I can offer. Editors and support teams can act as creative partners. Beyond editing, ums and ahs, creative partners, helping hosts to shape their story. We can help them refine their message and help them develop their own unique voice. Something that AI cannot replicate as of the time of recording. We can also help provide coaching, motivation, and constructive feedback to help podcasters grow in confidence and their skill level. I think us just being in the corner of a content creator, a podcaster, and helping them find and reach their potential, and doing it in a human-centered, focused way is one of the things that we can offer as podcast editors and support people. The second one is helping them to build community and helping them with relationship management. I think we, as podcast editors and support people in a world of AI, can really focus in on this community building and relationship management by supporting podcasters in building an engaged community around their shows, helping people who do not know how to do that, helping them by facilitating listener interaction, creating surveys and helping people collect information from their audience, creating an atmosphere of collaboration between podcaster and listener and viewer. We can be the ones to help nurture a sense of belonging on behalf of the podcaster. Again, AI is not going to be able to do this. And then offering guidance and audience engagement strategies like live events, collaborations, all of these things, we can take our knowledge of the podcasting universe and apply it to a podcaster beyond the ums and ahs. Also, we can help with quality assurance and keeping brand consistency for our podcasters. That's one thing to go use like a program like Descript and turn it on and let it take out all the ums and ahs and silence breaks. But then there's this quality assurance piece where it goes, this sounds like a robot. There's no humanity in the recording now because we've taken out every single breath and it feels stale and it feels inauthentic because we've removed any sense of humanity. There's news for everyone. We all breathe. If you don't breathe, you're not going to be here. And if you go listen to any pop song, go listen to Ariana Grande. And she's so breathy when she sings. You can hear the breaths when she goes to sing her next line. And that's acceptable. And in podcasting, when we go with these tools that just cut through without any type of parameters or guardrails, they just strip out all of the humanity and make things so choppy and so sped up and so unhuman that we as podcasters and editing support people, we can come in and say, hey, let's work on the quality of these tools and what they're giving as outputs. And let's try to make it sound better. Even while we leverage the tool, but let's make it sound better for our audience. Again, if the whole world goes towards automation and the whole world goes towards using the exact same tool to the point where everybody starts to sound like everybody else, there's your gap. That's your gap. Because humans are still going to crave human connection. And for me to listen to something that's created by AI, devoid of human connection, there's nobody even human in the whole process, I don't know if I'm going to get the same type of story and connection with that podcast when you take the humans out. So I think we need to be, as podcast editing and support people, the people who stuff the humanity back into content. That's our job, by monitoring the quality of what comes out. Ensure that the episodes meet a consistent standard of quality and they align with the podcaster's brand and the identity of the brand. Tasks that require subjective judgment and nuanced understanding of a show's goals are going to be highly sought after by podcasters. And there's your gap. There's your spot. That's your opportunity. Create quality for your podcasters even when you leverage tools provided to us by AI. And then the fourth part would be handling anything that's complex or something that's sensitive and nuanced for your podcasters. I see AI as the big box store of content creation and support. And I see what you and I do as kind of that little cool little store that's got attitude and everybody who goes in there knows each other. And yeah, it doesn't have the selection and the prices that the big box store has, but at least people know who you are when you shop there. You know the name of the shop owner. You know what you're going to get, and the quality's better because it's not something that's been shipped to the store from some other country that doesn't have the same standards, and the quality's not there, and the clothes don't last as long, and the things break easily because they're not made to a certain level. You go to this little tiny shop where the bell rings when you walk through the door, that kind of shop. I think that's what we need to be as podcast editing and support people. The days of being the big box store of editing and support, there's too many tools today to compete with. I think we need to be that niche little cool shop environment where people come and they get something consistently because the owner of the store is the person at the cash register. That's the owner, not some person who doesn't care about what they do at the store and they're just there for a paycheck. Nope, this is the person who actually built the store, and you get to know them by name. We, as that type of interaction, being more personal, on a smaller scale maybe, we can help as far as editing a podcast for tone, for context, and sensitivity, and that nuance. That AI is not great at nuance at this point. We can do that, and in the episodes, and help with this podcaster to address any kind of nuanced or controversial topics where human judgment is essential to get to the main point of the podcast and reach better into our audience to help them connect with the topic. That's who we are, and that's what we can do for our podcasters. And then lastly, around the future role of what we do as podcasters, and podcast editing and support people, I think that we can help direct and control innovation and customization for our podcasters. We will be the ones to help develop new show formats. We will be the ones to help our podcasters experiment with storytelling techniques and helping them to tell better stories on their podcast. We will be the ones to help push the creative boundaries beyond the capabilities of a preset AI template. We will be the ones to be the creative edge for that podcaster. That any tool they can see out there used by the masses, creating the same mass output as every other podcaster, we will be the ones to help a podcaster innovate their show and customize it for a better reach. So what do podcasters need from support teams right now? Podcasters are increasingly going to be seeking support teams who can serve as a trusted creative collaborator and a sounding board, somebody to bounce ideas off of. Also to offer tailored coaching and encouragement and mindset support, especially for new creators, brand new to the space. They don't know what they're doing, and they're looking for some really genuine hand-holding through the process of getting started in podcasting and content creation. We can also help with strategic planning, help with guest curation. We still have that personal recommendation and word of mouth. AI is not that great at word of mouth. Humans are great at it because we know our audience. And we can also help with audience development for our podcasters. We can provide that human touch in an increasingly automated world. Where do we go from here then as podcast editors and support people? Podcast editors and support teams should really learn to lean into the uniquely human skills that AI cannot replicate. We can develop that expertise in coaching, creative consulting, and community management. We can help to position ourselves as partners in the podcaster's journey and not just technical service providers, not just the ums and police. We can embrace AI as a tool for efficiency, which then frees us up to focus on higher value, human-centric services, that connection with the audience. We can get rid of some of the things that took so much time out of our week, use these tools to help us, but then focus on the things that we have not had the opportunity to focus on and develop that. That's where we go from here. And my hope for you as a podcast editing and support person is that you begin to leverage this mindset that you have so much to offer to the community, and the sooner you start to embrace your uniqueness and your knowledge, the better. And my closing tip for you as an editor, what I'm seeing in some of the conversation and hearing from editors is they're using Descript, which is fine. But also their client has access to that exact same platform. And in that, you have two people using the exact same platform. And what happens there is when a content creator begins to understand the same tool that you're using, they can find some opportunities to maybe leverage the tool more and not you as much. If your consistent knowledge and the amount of knowledge you have about podcast editing and support is directly tied to a public program, software, tool, whatever, you've hit your ceiling. That's as much as you can offer because that's all you know. My challenge to you is to understand podcasting, to understand where podcasting is going. Wayne Gretzky, hockey player here in Canada, very famous for saying that he would always, when playing hockey, he would always focus on where the action was going, not where it was. He anticipated where his fellow players would be skating to, and he would shoot and make the play go to where they were going to be in a moment instead of where they were standing in the moment. So I think we as podcast editing and support people need to anticipate where the services and needs of our podcasters are going instead of living where they are right now and doing our best and complaining about how AI is killing podcast editing and support when we're not focused on where we could be focused on what's coming ahead. So instead of spending the bulk of your time complaining or worrying about AI and podcast editing and support, now you need to refocus on where you could go in the future. And I hope some of the ideas today help. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Podcasteditingandsupport.com is where you can find me. And I would love to hear more about what you do, who you serve, and your thoughts around AI. And is it coming for your job? I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to the Podcast Editing and Support Show. Visit us at podcasteditingandsupport.com, podcasteditingandsupport.com. We would love to help you find a great podcast editor, or if you want to hire us, we would love to work with you. Podcasteditingandsupport.com. Catch you on the next episode. Take care.